Our speaker will share her experience, strength, and hope with us for approximately 45 minutes. We ask out of respect for our speaker to please remain seated until she is finished. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce our speaker, Collin. Give her a big hand.
I got my cheek. Okay. It's the epitome of life on life's terms, right?
There you go.
Okay. So my name's Collin. I am an alcoholic.
Hey, Collin.
My sobriety date is November 11th, 1990. I know. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. Half my life sober. I don't know where the hell it went. I'm going to start tonight by talking about, if I can, because it is overwhelming with gratitude for almost 30 years, God willing. I make it for the next couple of months. I don't see I won't, but you never know. All I have is one day. I have a daily reprieve contingent upon my spiritual condition. And so I'm going to tell you a story about somebody I met just last Tuesday morning. I do crisis therapy. So I go out into the community and I do a lot of, which would be almost considered 12-step calls sometimes, but it's in a different way. So we get called out to the hospital a lot, and the call came in at 2 a.m. I work nights, 3 nights a week, and the name came up, familiar, we knew him, and I wasn't really supposed to take this call. This is what was so interesting about it. It was my partner's, he was up, but I took it. Because he's off in 2 hours, and an assessment takes at least 2 hours, and so I just took it for him. And I walked, and sometimes, I get compassion fatigue. I see the same people over and over, and I don't know what it takes. I don't know why I'm standing here with 30 years, and this person has been in and out, and isn't able to get it. I don't know that. I don't know what. The answer is, I just know that it keeps me very humble. So I went in, and he was laying there, and I knew his story, boatloads of grief that he's never dealt with. Watched his father die of the same disease, found him dead. Just was, to look at the guy in that pitiful demoralization, that kind of, you can't help but have that heart connection. And because there but for the grace of God go I. I could be that person. So we talked, and normally I don't really break my anonymity. It depends on who I'm talking to. But this guy we've assessed probably 5 times in the last 3 months. He was puking up blood. He was puking while he was talking to me. His blood alcohol wasn't really that high. So I knew, he's on the downside, he's dying. He's literally dying of this disease. And he knows it up here, but it hasn't sunk in yet. He's got to try one more time. And I said to him, I'm going to have 30 years. And I don't know why I said it, but it just, we were talking, and I said, what's it going to take? What's going to be different this time? You need long-term treatment. You need something more than what you're getting. You just can't go in, get detox, and have them throw you out because you just keep, you're not doing anything different. And he looked, and I've assessed hundreds of people, and I don't know if, and I was talking to my sponsor today, and I said, I don't remember anybody asking me how I stay sobered. And he asked me, how do you have 30 years? And I was stunned by it. I guess that's why this really has stuck to me. Because usually I just forget about him, I have to, because I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't. But anyways, I just looked at him and said, well, I go to meetings. I have a higher power. And I have a sponsor that I don't think there's been very little time in my sobriety that I didn't have a sponsor, didn't have some connection to AA. Because I believe this is a disease of connection, lack of connection, loneliness, unresolved trauma, unresolved grief. Everybody I assess has a story that, I have a story. Yeah, and I'm getting chills. And then I pull open the, and this is probably not AA, I don't know, this AA literature, but it is The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beatty. And today's topic was keep at it. Keep practicing your recovery, even when they feel awkward, even when you haven't quite taken it yet, even if you don't get it yet. Sometimes it takes years, and it does. Let me tell you, if you're new in here, it does. It took me 5 years just to figure out that my anger was fear. And then all of a sudden, the light bulb went on one day, and I went, oh, wow. Took me, I don't know, close to 10 years to really get it to sink in that drinking's not an option, no matter what. Drinking is not an option. And that, so what it was like, what had happened, and what it's like now, I grew up in a family of craziness. I was the sixth child of 7 and the youngest girl. I had 3 older brothers and an older sister and a younger brother. One of my brothers died before I knew him, but I never felt like I fit in that family. I'm the runt of the litter. I always call myself the runt of the litter because I'm the shortest. All my brothers are over 6 foot tall. My sister's damn near 6 foot tall. So here I am, this little puny thing, trying to get attention. And I lived in the state of terror most of growing up, but I couldn't show that. Oh no, you couldn't, never let them see you sweat. Because they would terrorize you, and that's what they would do. But today, I was thinking about this today. I love them all. I may not like them, and I may not have a relationship with them today, but I love them all. They're all characters in their own right. Do I expect anything from them? None of them have ever made any kind of apology or amends, and I've done my part. I've done my amends for my part in the whole thing. But and maybe it's because my parents have passed. My mom passed a year ago in June, and my dad passed, I guess it's going on 3 years. That has kind of, made my heart a little warmer. And my oldest brother died, and he was that one got me, still gets me, because he was really instrumental in my sobriety. He took me to my first meeting in 1983. He had 3 years of sobriety, and he told me his spiritual experience. He'd had this experience, and there was a light in his eye that I'd never seen before. And this guy he was famous. He was like, I put him way up there. He was 10 years older than me. He was the basketball god, and, we were always at basketball games, and, he got scholarships and could have been pro. But alcohol took him. But he got sober. He didn't remain sober, though. He stayed sober technically for about 20 years. And then he got into pain pills. And this happens a lot. We have a certain amount of sobriety, and I don't know. Sober is everything. You don't do anything that affects you from the neck up, where your mind is not right. That's how I feel. And drugs are part of my story. I met alcohol when I was 12. And that was probably the first time in my life I didn't feel fear. I had and it was at my cousin's wedding. There was champagne in one of those really beautiful little fountain things, we'd be sticking our cups under there, and I got shit-faced. And I was just having fun, right? But I recognized that, how Bill Wilson talks about it in his story, where he was, he got a couple drinks under him, and he was, talking, and he was charismatic, and he could get the girls, and blah blah blah. And of course, I was 12. That was not on my mind, but all I remember was once sticking my glass under the thing, and my dad was standing there, and he said, "I think you've had enough." Of course, that didn't stop me. Then I was sneaking it, and then my cousin, the sister of the bride, she just stole the bottles out of the garage, and we went upstairs and we're drinking it out of the bottle. But it tasted so good, and I don't remember going home, and I know that I was pretty goofy. But it was, my father thought it was cute, but my mother thought it was disgusting. I do remember a look my mother gave me when I fell down and broke the heel off my shoe. I remember that, and then, I would black out, and I wouldn't remember anything else. So that was my introduction to a blackout. Did I know that was not normal? No. Isn't that what you do when you drink? You drink till you black out. I was just having fun. That's what I thought it was. But there was a part of me that didn't really like that out of control feeling. So that's when pot entered my life, and I thought, oh my God, this is nirvana. I'm not going to get sick. I don't get sick. I laugh a lot. We have fun. Time seems to slow down and stop. That's what I remember about my first high. But I never got that high again. I was always chasing it. Experimenting. Well, let's try one beer, one joint, and one of these pills. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but we're going to try it. And then the next night we'd do something different, But for years I controlled my alcohol. And I never thought I would give up smoking pot, ever. I remember saying, I will never stop smoking pot. Well, I did. I gave it up first because the pot got so powerful, I couldn't maintain. And, and that's when I had that moment of clarity. I was on the softball field, and I was way, way stoned. And I thought I could do anything stoned, right? Well, the coach is hitting the balls to me, and I'm just laughing, and they're going by, and I'm like, no, I guess I can't do everything. And that was my, my wake-up call, and then I didn't like the way it was making me feel. But alcohol, then I started drinking more. But I did not become a daily drinker, probably 6 months to a year before I quit, was when I can remember consciously saying to myself, I'm not going to drink today, and I would be drunk by 8 o'clock that night. As soon as I got home from work, I was hitting the bottle. And it scared me because I knew something about Alcoholics Anonymous. I knew I had this example in my life of my brother, and you know what? He showed up 6 months prior to me getting sober. He came to visit me here. I was living in Prescott Valley. I'd moved. He came to visit me, and I said to him, I think I'm drinking too much wine. And he had 10 years at that time, and he said, well, Colleen, if you think you are, you probably are. And that was all he said. And he showed me his 10-year medallion. And that was it. And then some other synchronicities happened. At that time, I was doing bookkeeping and accounting. And somebody turned me on to this woman who was having trouble with taxes and stuff. And she happened to be in the program. And so all these little, things were happening in my life. And then the relationship I was in fell apart. And the last time I remember really being drunk, I drank after this, but the last time I remember being drunk was in September of 1990. And I was down in Phoenix taking a test for the IRS. And I just wanted to relax a little and go to sleep because I'd been studying, and I take the test the first day. It was 2 days. It was grueling. And then that night, I couldn't sleep, of course, so I went down to the bar in the hotel, and I don't remember going back to my room. And the next day, I took the rest of the test, I don't know how I passed it. I really don't. I was so hungover. But then I went, then things were shifting in my life, and I knew it. I knew things were shifting. I could tell the relationship was going nowhere, really. And so I'm going to fix me, right? I'm going to fix me so that the relationship will get fixed. So I went into counseling. And I'd been in counseling before. But this time, I knew something, something was up. And I remember saying to the counselor, I think I have a problem with alcohol, and I definitely have a problem with relationships. And and a month later, the relationship fell apart, and I was at a meeting, and it was at an old halfway house that's not here anymore called the Duck House, and it was a women's meeting and a speaker meeting, and this woman she just said things that I was feeling, that didn't know anybody else ever felt. And it was so freeing in a lot of ways, but yet, God, what am I going to do? I'm going to be out on the streets. That didn't happen. I've been blessed in so many ways. I got a house in town. I started going to meetings. I didn't really talk a lot. I went to speaker meetings because I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And in December, I remember going to a speaker meeting. It was a Friday night, and there was 5 people celebrating birthdays. And one of them is still in my life today. And when she was telling her story, I went home and I thought, I did all that shit. Because see, I was still of the mindset that I wasn't an alcoholic, even though I knew I had a problem. I just didn't see myself as an alcoholic, because my conception of an alcoholic was somebody on Skid Row with a bag, and that wasn't me. I hadn't lost all the material things. I still had a job. But I'd lost Colleen. I didn't know who the hell I was. I was whatever you wanted me to be. And so I went home, and it's kind of funny because I went home and I pulled out the big book that I had, which I thought was mine. But it wasn't. It happened to belong to my ex-husband. And his friend had given it to him back in 1980 and had written an inscription. And he had underlined and highlighted the first 164 pages. Everything was just like this roadmap. And I thought, this big book has gone from California, Wyoming, Alaska, and now Arizona, and in my possession, which I don't know how I ended up with it. Obviously, I was supposed to have it. But I thought, it felt almost sacrilegious, it's like, this is not my big book. I wonder if I can really keep it. So I called the guy, and I said, so I have this big book that you gave to Dave, my ex-husband. Do you think it's okay if I have? He probably thought, what? He goes, sure. Dave would just use it as a doorstop anyway, so you might as well use it. So I still have that book today. This 12 and 12 is from the first meeting I ever went to in 1983 in Seattle with my brother. It's pretty worn out. It better be, because it saved my life. So that's how I got here. And wow, it's been a wild ride. And I think about the guy in the hospital the other night throwing up blood, and I hope he got help this time. I hope he doesn't show back up. But if he does, I might be there, and somebody will be there. They don't take real kindly, though, to alcoholics here in the hospital. They really don't. They don't, the first thing they say to me, is, can you get him out of our ER? Can you, And it's really sad to me because there's still this stigma. There's still this and then when I even suggest to somebody, hey, have you tried, because we're supposed to kind of give them tools and resources after we do the major assessment. So I always ask them, have you tried AA? Oh, yeah, I've tried AA. I can't stand those stories. They make me want to drink, Just like, and I just kind of go, oh, okay. And what you're doing now is really working well for you? Okay. So how did I stay sober? Well, I had to get honest, which is the first step. The first step is all about honesty. I had to admit I was powerless over alcohol. I had to, and that my life was unmanageable. That was the hard part. And like one sponsor always used to tell me, powerless is only used once in the first step. The rest of the steps are to gain our power, gain a power greater than ourselves, which I believe is inside of us. I believe that power is inside of us. I never had, growing up, Catholic, I was very, very into it because it kept me sane. But as I got older, I saw the hypocrisy. I didn't like the, nobody walking the talk. Nobody was doing that. We'd go to church and then we'd get our ass whooped all the way home. What the hell is that? It didn't make any sense. So when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and someone said, you can have your own God, I was like, wow. So of course I went, I do everything, I had to read every flipping book there was and figure it all out and get up all in my head and I'm going to figure out what God is. I'm going to do that. Well, I think I know what God is for me. And I believe that God is unconditional love. And am I capable of that? Some days. I don't know. I don't know if humans are capable of that. I know that animals are. They love you unconditionally, especially dogs. God spelled backwards. So I had to get honest. And then I had to do these steps. And I love the principles. Hope. Step 2 gives me hope. Came to believe. And it came to believe. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden, I'm going to believe something. I had to come to it. And it's a process. And it took me, I really did not get to that point of really believing in my heart and soul and every part of me, part of my being, embodying that fact that I believe that my higher power today is love, is the energy of love. And gratitude, which I equate with love. Because when I'm in gratitude, I'm not in fear. And when I'm in love, I'm not in fear. Step 3, faith. This always kicks my ass all the time. How do I turn my life and my will and my life over to the care of, At first, it was like, you gotta be flipping kidding me. I can't do this. I can't. So my great sponsor, Gail V, she told me to get a God bag. And she tells this story because she laughs at me all the time. She told me to get a God bag, and I said, okay, what do I do with it? So then you write down everything, and you throw it in the God bag. And that was something tangible. Write it down, throw it in there. Someone's pissing me off, throw it in there. Whatever it was. So she comes over to my house. I have this bag, and it's one of those big shopping bags with the handles on it, and it's got God in black, and she just started cracking up. She just thought that was the funniest thing I said, why? I'll have this sucker filled in a year, and then I'm going to have a big bonfire. And I did. I threw shit in there. I'll tell you, and then my second sponsor, she used to tell me to put my head in the freezer. I swear, kid you not. Because I would call her and I'd go, I cannot stay in the moment. I can't stay. What are you doing right now? Well, I'm working. Well, okay. And then I would be off, on some, I just cannot stay in the moment. Stick your head in the freezer, Colleen. Okay. I didn't do that. But I used to throw shit in the freezer. That became my God bag. Well, maybe I'll just freeze them out, And so when I moved out of that house that I got when I first got sober, the first house I ever bought on my own, first house. I rented it and then I bought it. I was 2 years sober and I was so proud of myself. I was like, hey, I did this without a man. Wow. That was big. It's huge for me. I don't know about anybody else, but it was huge for me. So the freezer in that house, I had to all these wadded up balls of paper. It's just funny. And you read them and you're going, wow, that was taken care of. It's the greatest thing on earth. So if you're new and you don't know what the hell to do with your head, write it down because there's something magical that happens when you put the pen to paper. Step 4, courage. Had to find that courage, like the lion. We all have it, right? It's kind of the opposite of fear in a lot of ways. It's like fear was preservation for me, I didn't even know that I couldn't feel fear, but when I got sober, I felt it. There was that first year was like, oh, what is this in my gut? What is this in my stomach? I can't even get out of bed. And I had to walk through it. It's just like being up here. Is it comfortable for me to do this? No. In fact, my mind has been going all week. And then I had to just shut it up, just give it to God. Throw it in the freezer. And step 5 is integrity. Can I share? Can I get honest? Can I be, again, honesty? Can I hold to my values? Can I give tell another human being. That's intimacy. That's into me see. I have to trust another living human being. And they're not going to shame me or laugh at me or terrorize me because I did something, a long time ago that I regret. Or, that's another thing. I don't really have any regrets. That one promise that says no matter how far down the scale you've gone, you will know that your experience is going to help somebody else. That takes you out of the victim. You're no longer a victim. You can help somebody else with whatever experience they need to hear in that moment. You don't know. Because you are I really truly believe today that whatever comes out of my mouth, I hope, most days, is God inspired. That it works through me and not of me. And I step out of the way and I allow that higher power to work. Am I perfect at this? No, I'm not. But I'm willing, and that's the next step, willingness. And then step 7, which is one of my favorites, and that's humility. And that is what shame can be transformed into. So if you have shame can be transformed into humility. The guy laying in the hospital, he's full of shame. He doesn't want to be there, but he doesn't know how to stop. He doesn't. It hasn't hit him yet. He's got the tools in front of him, so he's got to have the willingness to use them, right? And nobody can force him. So, step 8, love, brotherly love, willing to make amends to those I've harmed. And number 1, myself. Who's the person we harm the most? 9 is justice. And after step 9 is when the promises are in the big book. That's when the promises start to come true, when we actually make those amends. We get free. Perseverance. I keep at it. I keep doing a daily inventory. And when I'm wrong, I admit it. And I say I'm sorry, and I try not to do it again. And then 11 is the spirituality, sought through prayer and meditation. I don't know about you, but I could not shut my head off, and there's times today I cannot, but I'm way better than I used to be. Way better than I used to be. I can sit actually for 15 minutes and meditate and get some inspiration. Because if I'm up here, number 1, I disconnect. My brain is going, but my nervous system is all out of whack. And I can't, there's nothing good is going to come of that. Our mind, some people say our mind's out to kill us, but, we need our minds. We need the rational mind. The rational mind is what builds things. It's what, and there's a creative part to that rational mind. But when we get up there and start trying to, make things happen or figure it all out, we disconnect from ourselves. And I don't want to do that anymore. And then, of course, step 12 is service. I have to give it away, right? So when Linda called me, my first thought was, how do I get out of this? I totally forgot about it. I don't really like doing this, and I really was thinking, and I had a great excuse. Oh, COVID, I can't come here, expose myself. I'm out there in the community. I get exposed every day. So, and I'm being honest. Those are the thoughts. I had a great excuse, but I said, no, for some reason I probably need to be here. Because this is the first face-to-face meeting. No, this is the second face-to-face meeting I've been to since March. And I'm not into the Zoom. I'm too distracted. I get way too distracted. I'm at home, I'm cleaning the kitchen, you know, I don't want to be doing that while, you know, I need to be focused, you know, because my sobriety is very important. Without it, I would not, I don't know, my life is so fucking great, right? You know, it really is. When and if we get to ever, you know, I sing in a band that's made up of Greg and the Gringos, if any of you have heard of it. Greg A. You know, I get to sing. I make money singing, and I never thought that would ever happen to me. I own, you know, I have 2 acres of land that I just absolutely love, which was literally a miracle that it even came about. And my horse just turned 27. I've had her since she was 3.5. 23 years she's been with me. Longest relationship I've ever had in my life, besides my family, which I don't have much to do with. So, yeah, what a gift. And, you know, she gets to be a therapy horse. She gets to help people, you know, and she's amazing at it. Her ability to stay present. You know, their ability to stay present and in the moment. Animals are so amazing about that. So that has been a true gift. And I want to thank Linda for asking me, even though I'll own that I really was thinking again, just for a second. And this has been great. And thank you for letting me share, and I don't know, keep at it.
Let's thank Collin once again. Let's give her a round of applause. Outstanding.